Could you please give us an example of what a premium ship would be like?
For various reasons, I cannot share with you the names of future premium ships at the moment, except maybe to say that the cruiser Aurora will be available. However, I do have another interesting piece of information to share about premium ships. There will be 4 classes in the game, and each will have its own premium ships, just like in World of Tanks. Premium ships can be divided into 2 categories. The first category are your typical average premium ships that you can use to generate and build up credits and experience. Our second category of premium ship is more interesting. In the naval history of the 20th century, there were a lot of exotic projects. They are not suitable for our tech trees because they are quite difficult for us to develop and for players to play with in-game. But they are so interesting and unusual that we cannot throw them out completely. Therefore, they will be used as premium ships. As an example, there will be a cruiser in the early tiers that will be armed with 14 major caliber turrets. It will be very difficult to operate this ship, so it will be quite an interesting surprise for any player who decides to buy it.
How will a player be able to control the aircraft that are in the game?
Players of World of Warships will be able to have some control over aircraft. They will not only be able to specify the directions of the squadron, but they will also be able to choose targets for attack. The particular set of things that a player can control will depend on the type of aircraft. For example, using a scout plane will let players explore and uncover the still unknown parts of the map. Interceptors can be used to attack enemy aircraft, and both torpedo bombers and regular bombers can attack enemy ships. However, not everything is under a player's control, as artificial intelligence will also be present. The squadron may decide that there is an emergency need to return to the aircraft carrier if they are running out of fuel, for example. Additionally, artificial intelligence will be present to help aircraft to avoid getting hit by the enemy.
Will there be a limit to firing range?
Each gun in our game has its own historical firing range. For example, the weakest guns will have a 12 to 15 kilometer range, and the major caliber guns on the Yamato will have a range of more than 40 kilometers. There is, however, one other limitation, the so-called line of sight range. This is dependent on many factors, including where and how rangefinders and directors are placed. For the same Yamato, the line of sight range will be around 20 to 25 kilometers. This means that a player will be able to hit targets easily and accurately if they are within its line of sight. But for the targets located further, accuracy will be significantly lower.
Does the ability to detect an enemy depend on the class of ship, and will ships use Morse code, sonar, or echo sounders?
The ability to detect enemy ships will depend on the class of ship you are using. It may also vary even within a single class. It will depend on both the ship's tier and how well the ship is researched. The visibility of ships in-game, as in real life, will depend on their size. Aircraft carriers and battleships are more noticeable even from great distances, but battleship observation points are located higher up so they can see farther. As for Morse code, this feature will not be introduced. Sonar is more commonly used as means for detecting underwater objects, and, as we do not have submarines, this feature also will not be included. Echo sounders are used to measure depth, and not as means for the detection of surface objects. At this stage, radar systems are used to increase the chances of enemy detection at long range. In addition, all aircraft carriers will be able to use scout planes to detect the enemy at long distances.
How many guns will a player be able to control?
As we have been saying, at the current stage of development, players will be able to control major caliber guns, torpedo launchers, and aircraft. Anti-aircraft guns and secondary guns would be under the control of artificial intelligence. However, this type of weapon can be disabled. For example, if a player wishes to remain unnoticed near an enemy ship, having control over all of a ship's armaments would obviously complicate the process of learning the game for our players. Therefore, it is very difficult to say how many guns will be under the player's control during a game session. In general, we imagine that the number will be up to 5 if we are talking about all the kinds of armament that can be activated and deactivated. If we are talking about the amount of guns, then it all depends on the characteristics of a specific combat unit.
Do squadrons need any servicing between battles?
Planes for aircraft carriers are like artillery shells for ships. Before you go into battle, you can decide which types of aircraft you would like to take with you. Each carrier has a squadron which the player controls, and there are planes that are in the hangar. If some of a squadron's aircraft are downed during the battle and the rest decide to return to the ship, the squadron will be replenished with aircraft from the hangar.